Good afternoon. My name is George Hurst. We have a real treat today. We're in Cache Creek, British Columbia, and we're having a visit with Al and Ann Stohlman. Beautiful Cascade Mountains, home of the world's greatest leather crafter. And here, just off the Alcan Highway, the entrance to the two Lazy A's, Al and Ann Stohlman Ranch. And this is the workshop. The producer.
Who wrote the script? Nobody did.
What script? We don't believe in script.
They're going to dub the words in later in English.
And this goes all the way up to Inuvik, to the Beaufort Sea.
Going all the way out there?
That's as far as you can drive in a vehicle in North America. But,
Right up Alaska.
and then we was over here in the Northwest Territories, out the Yellowknife, and the Big Slave Lake. We drove all the roads in that province and that territory. And this was down on the Buffalo.
Woods
Reserve.
Buffalo.
That's where we got those buffalo pictures back here. And this is, we call this the
There you
Ingram
can see the
Trail.
Queen
here.
Charlotte Island there.
And
On the left.
that's as far as that road goes
Yeah,
there.
that's
Where you want to go?
Yeah.
All gravel roads up there. Okay, I'm up here in somewhere in British Columbia, and I got a good treat for you today. Got Al and Ann Stohlman here, and we're just going to have a little chat about this and about that. About this and about that, just about anything we want to talk about. But I think for the benefit of all your fans around, they're always asking me, how did you ever get started doing leather work?
Well, I guess you could say it started during the war, World War II.
Civil War.
Yeah,
Civil War.
Well, no, my grandfather was in the Civil War. I got his powder horn, as a matter of fact.
Oh, wow.
But I've always been an artist. I've been blessed with being able to draw, and one of my main ambitions was I wanted to be an illustrator in Western books and magazines and that sort of thing. And then the war come along, and I never had an opportunity for that. So it wasn't until we was overseas in the jungles in Southeast Asia, New Guinea, and I'd seen some of the guys in the outfit was doing a little leather work, and that's when I kind of got interested in the leather. So I started making them wallets, you know, and I didn't know you had stamping tools or anything like that. I used my pocket knife to cut the design outline, you know, and then wet the leather, and then I made a bunch of tools out of nails and to press the leather down, you know, and get your design to stand up. And then till your arm would get aching so bad, you know, you'd have to rest a while. And so, and then for dyeing the backgrounds, I would use India ink and just paint it in, you know, around. Quite a mess.
You know what's amazing about that? It never occurred to me before, but Charles Tandy kind of got started in the business the same way. During World War II, he saw guys working on leather.
Yeah.
And I guess, in fact, it was in the not the VA hospital, but the Navy hospital there in Hawaii, I guess. And then when he got out of the Navy, he started thinking about, well, there's a business here.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys kind of,
Yeah.
I never realized before, got started about the same way.
I never realized Charles was
No.
into it. He never told us that.
Well, he was in the Navy,
Uh-huh.
and he was in the Pacific, and of course he sold war bonds, I guess, mostly. But he saw in the hospitals that these guys were doing this leather work, and he came home and told his dad, which at that time Tandy was in the shoe findings business. He said, there's a business there, and so they give Charles a little corner of the business, and he started doing leathercraft business, and it just went from there.
Tandy leather.
And so I just thought it was right around the same time. Of course, before that, this business was pretty kind of secret, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, and worst of it was in the jungles there with all the humidity, the leather would mold right away, you know. And the moths would get in and eat stuff up, and I decided I was going to make myself a leather jacket. You see, I was getting real smart. And so when we came to Australia, I bought some kangaroo lace and some calf skins and everything, you know. And been packing that around all this time, and so what to do for a pattern to make this jacket. So I took an old army shirt and cut it apart. You know, that was my pattern for the jacket.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Well, I'll drag that out and show it to you in a minute.
Yeah, we ought to do that.
I meant to have you get it out when the crew was here.
Yeah, we'll show you the tools. We'll do that after a bit too.
Well, we can do that right now if you want to.
Okay.
Why don't we do that?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, here's the jacket. That kind of fits like a suit of armor. This is the front and this is the back. Of course, I always have to do putting my bucking horses on everything. This is a kind of a wild rose design. And the turns around the front again. The conchos are all made out of Australian coins on here, and the lapel has a lining in it, a leather lining. And you notice on these seams, on the sleeve seam, there's a double seam there. It's laced around the edge with the kangaroo, and then it's also like a buck stitching with another seam. Now, I didn't know anything about lacing or lacing punches or anything, so I thought you had to actually take the leather out, the thickness of the lace. So I took 2 hacksaw blades and ground them down the width of the lace and wired them together, and then I punched the double slits at each end, and then to get the leather out I used a little tiny nail and cut the ends out of each slot. So where the laces go in, there was a little slot actually taken out of the leather. So you can imagine all the little slots and everything going down those seams. You know.
Talk about a glutton.
Yeah. How about some of those tools? Do you have those old tools there, Al? Oh, wait a minute. What do we got here in the pocket?
I could show you the inside.
Oh, okay. Let me zoom in on that.
Yeah.
Just hold it there. I'll come to you.
Okay.
There we go.
Yes, we put some pockets on the inside, and the Leo on there, that's me. I was born under the Leo sign. And over on the other side, we have a jungle scene here from New Guinea. Maybe you can get that on there.
I got it.
And that's all pressed in with the nails and everything and dyed with the ink. And the lining in there, when I didn't have that when I brought the jacket home after the war, I took it to a tailor and wanted him to sew a lining in it, but he wouldn't have any part of it, so I had to do it myself all by hand. So original tools that I made over in New Guinea. And this one here is made out of a nail, and that's the original pointed beveler. There was no pointed bevelers before this one came out. And this is a little border design stamp, and this is a kind of a little background tool to press in. And this was a real fine modeling tool, high class, real fine. And this was a dandy one here. This was made out of a spike, and it's got a big modeling surface. And this is my background stippler. It's made out of a half a dozen little finishing nails that are drove into a dowel and wired together with a piece of wire. And that's what all of my leather work was composed of, with this type of tools.
Your pocket.
Saddle making, Al. You're the best saddle maker I ever heard of or know of. How did you ever get started
Well, I
making
wouldn't say
saddles?
that.
Huh?
But I got started making saddles, I guess, after the war. Before the war, of course, I didn't know anything about making saddles, but I was riding all the time, and I had a good saddle that was made in Deming, New Mexico by a saddle maker named Williams. And when I went to the war, where my sister had all of my stuff, she kept the saddle and all my belongings. And I was overseas so darn long, almost 4 years, that I didn't think I was ever coming home, and people kept wanting to buy that saddle from my sister, you know, and so I thought, well, I don't know when I'll ever get home again, so better go ahead and sell it. So she sold it, and then when I got back from the war, then you couldn't buy a saddle anymore. See, the times were that way.
That's right. Yeah.
So I got a saddle that was made in Mexico. They were making saddles patterned after our Western saddles in Mexico. The only problem with it was the shearling on there was just like it come fresh off the sheep. It was gray and still had the stickers in it.
Oh,
It smelled like sheep dip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did, yeah.
And the leather was tanned in the human feces, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And when that sucker was out in the hot sun for any length of time, it just gets smelling something awful.
Especially if it got wet.
Yeah. So then I was living in a shack in a canyon there near Laguna Beach, California, and a friend of mine lived in town there, and he didn't know own the property or anything, and I didn't either, but I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. And my brother-in-law had an old chicken house he wanted to get rid of, so I tore that down and made myself a shack down there.
All right.
I didn't have enough boards to finish the back end in. It was all chicken wire halfway up, you know, but I did have a roof on it. And then he was a horse trader, and he would go into Los Angeles once a week or so trading horses. And when he was in there, I would buy a plain saddle.
Okay.
And then we'd come back to my shack, and I'd ride his horses during the week, you know, and fool around with them, and then I'd take this saddle and I would tool it up, see.
Did you have some regular tools then in those days?
No, I still had my, I didn't know anything about
homemade stuff.
Yeah, I didn't know anything. And I didn't even take saddle apart, I just,
okay.
like underneath the seat, I'd take a tin plate and shove up under there to press against, you know, and that sort of thing. And then the next week I'd take saddle back and sell it, and buy another plain saddle, bring it back, tool it up again. So that's how I kind of got started. And then I'd go into rodeos, and I'd see a saddle, with that beautiful looking design on it. So I'd get a piece of paper, and nobody's looking, and a pencil, and I'd there on and rub off to get a design, see. And then I found out, I got in the saddle shop one day, and I saw a guy using stamps in the mallet and all these tools, and all of a sudden the wheels started going, see.
Tell them when you went to work for McGee and when you met Guy Lauterbach.
Oh.
That's the old original
Yeah.
craft tool guys, wasn't it? Dick McGann.
Yeah.
Okay.
I met Shaft.
Shaft.
Yeah, when you went to work for Hamby.
Yeah, well, I stayed in this shack down there, I don't know, a little over a year, I guess, and I didn't know what I was going to do with myself. one day a fellow come up the hill in a suit, and I was cooking out on the rocks, you know, and had horses running all over, and he come up and he had a suit on and everything. He said, "What are you doing here? What are you doing here?" I said, "Nothing." He says, whoa, what's all these horses?" He says, what are you doing here?" And I said, "Nothing." And he says, "Well," I said, "don't you know you're trespassing?" He said, "You're on my property." And I said, "Well, I'm not hurting anything." And well, he says, I could have you locked up." He says, you're trespassing on my property." And I said, "Well, to make you feel any better," I said, "well, go ahead and lock me up, you know." But he said, "Well, I got some people coming down here tomorrow to look at this property." He said, "And you'll be off of here by then." And I said, "Yeah, I'll be gone." And I knew a rancher up the canyon a ways, and he'd always offered to let me put my shack there if I'd look after his horses down in the pasture. So moved the shack up there, and heck, up there I even had a floor in it.
Did you really?
Yeah, a little wood stove and the pipe coming up. That was first class. So then I got tired of another year of that, and I didn't know what to do with myself. I went to work for a dude ranch up in the mountains, and then I was making belts and everything, you know, but I didn't even know how to finish the edge on a piece of leather.
Yeah.
And so I said, this isn't going to work, you know, I've got to learn. So I went down to the saddle shop asking for a job, you know. And the old man, Lauterbach, the fellow that was a saddle maker there, he didn't do any decorative work at all, but he made good stock saddle work. I won a certain amount of money, and no way, you know, wasn't worth that kind of money. They wasn't paying anything, you know. So we finally settled on a wage. I think it was $65 a month or something like that. And I wanted to learn to make saddles. But first, he said, "You know how to hand sew?" And I said, "Oh, yeah." So I showed him some of my work. He said, "I'll show you, you know." There was a big course, 5/4 to the inch.
Yeah.
So about 6 months I had to repair suitcases and sewing on them and everything, and learn to use a round knife and all. And I finally got where I could start on the saddle. And so I didn't think the day would ever come when I could do it all on my own without having to ask questions.
Yeah.
Because he always told me, if you make a mistake, don't try to cover it up, I'll find it. So I'd go home at night and lay awake all night, remembering everything he told me. So I finally got to where I could make saddles. And that's
All right. Well, that's a great way to get started. And you're a good saddle maker. You're a great saddle maker.
Thank you.
How did the two of you get together?
Oh,
Oh, I was on a demonstration trip for Craft Tool Company. After the saddle shop, I went to Craft Tool, worked
Yeah.
there. And I was on a demonstration trip up in Bakersfield, California, and I had some friends that lived up in the Sierra, and they had invited me to come up there and visit them over the weekend, you see.
Yeah. Okay.
And so after this demonstration, I went up there and stayed over their place, and Ann was up there with some other friends that knew these
it was the
people.
opening of fishing season, and I was
Oh,
up there
okay.
fishing.
He's up fishing. And so I was supposed to put on a demonstration that evening of leather carving,
Okay.
you know, at our
Yeah.
friend's house. And so these other people were coming over, and you can tell them what happened
Oh.
over in their house.
They wanted to know if I was going to go, and I said, not particularly. I didn't know anything
Yeah.
about leather work, and so they were shocked, you know. "Haven't you ever heard of Al Stohlman?" And I said, "No," and I'll bet he's never heard of Van McDonald either. So we got off to a good start.
I guess you did.
But anyway,
So,
I did go over. And,
So Al turned you into a saddle maker, and you turned him into a
A
fisherman.
fisherman, right.
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, she made my saddle, as a matter of fact, the one I'm riding
Yeah.
today.
Yeah. How
His-
about that?
His old saddle was just plain, and I said, no good saddle maker would ride anything like that.
Plain rubbed off.
Well, this artwork you got into and the writing of books. Who was your first contact there?
Well, that's when I was working for McGann at the Craft Tool
Dick
Company.
McGann at
Yeah.
Craft Tool. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And that was the first book ever put out.
That was which one?
That How to Carve Leather. I
How to
think.
Carve Leather. That's
Yeah,
right. Yeah, I have that
was
one.
the name of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the next couple, I guess you did for Stylecraft. Is that true? The how to make holsters and the belts galore.
Yeah, I had made another book or two, I think, for McGann. One was figure carving. I think that's discontinued now. But
Yeah, that.
yeah, then I stayed there 2 years, and I just couldn't take city anymore, so
Yeah.
I moved out. And then I went to Stylecraft at Arizona.
In Arizona.
Yeah.
That's
Al
that
Green.
Al Green. Yeah.
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 And that was how to make the holsters book and a lot of first patterns.
Matter of fact, that's when you met Harry, isn't it?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah.
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 In Phoenix.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay.
And I haven't seen the old boy since.
No, yeah.
That's a long time ago.
It won't be long.
We're looking forward to it.
He'll be up here in September. And
Well, I wanted him to bring his shovel and crowbar, and we got a lot of fence to build.
oh, good. He needs to do a little work. So you guys have been married now. How long?
Since 1963.
63.
28, coming 29.
Coming on to
29.
29, 30 years. Yeah. And you started dressing alike every day. When?
Well, when she began making shirts.
Yeah.
Okay.
How long you been making shirts now?
Since the first year we were married.
Hmm.
Al was hard to fit, and we couldn't ever find any shirts that would fit him. He has a long torso. So I said, well, I'll see if I can make shirts.
Yeah.
She makes the shirts now with the flat seams. You can't hear the flat seams. You can't. They don't do them like that anymore. See?
Yeah.
So they don't tear apart right away. And so when she started making the shirts, well, then we'd always get the same material.
Yeah.
That way, when they get in the crowd, we don't get lost so easily. You see?
And so you've been up in this cabin now since how long? In your
Let's see. We bought
1969. We bought the place in 1966.
66,
Yeah.
yeah, and then 3 years later we moved up here.
moved up.
In 69, I drew the plans for the house, and we had a contractor build it. And he was supposed to have it done for us to move in that fall, and we come up in August.
We came up in July to see if the house was going to be
Yeah.
ready.
So when we got up here, we had to finish paneling and put in the seating and a few other things, and then get our winter wood in and get us set for that. So,
Yeah.
but we've been here ever since.
And you do all the work right in
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
in this house.
Yeah.
Yeah, at first we had everything, our big bench here and everything in the living room. You couldn't even find a chair to sit on without moving some leather or something. And we needed more room, so one summer we took off and built this shop on the end of the house, 16 by 20. And we did all this work ourselves, except for the electrical wiring we had. Because of the codes and all, we wanted it done correctly. And
And you built your own water supply up here.
pardon?
You got your own water supply
Yes.
Yeah.
off the mountain.
Yeah, we have a brook that runs on our property, starts up the hill behind the house and runs down the hill, and we just tapped into it up there, and it comes down the hill gravity feed. And there's no pumps, no electricity, nothing to wear out. Nice clean water.
It's hard water though.
Hard water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
It has a lot of alkali in it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When
Oh,
all these
yeah.
trees out here that you see, when we had the house built, there wasn't a tree right up here at all.
Oh, okay. Did
No.
you plant those trees or just let them grow after?
The cottonwoods, God planted those. We had a little dog fence along there one year, and the seeds blew in there, I guess, and when the leaf come out of the ground, we started watering it.
Okay.
But all the others, the elms and the spruce trees, and those, we've planted those since we've been here, and they've really taken off. And without that, we just cook in here, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Before we had any trees or this shop, we did all of our work in the living room. See, we have these big windows, and when it'd get hot in the summertime, that'd hit that roof, and it'd get so hot in there you couldn't work. So if we went outside, and that's when we built the front porch. When it was so hot, you couldn't work inside.
That kept a lot of the heat off the front of the
Oh,
building.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy, and that lumber, you'd have to nail it down fast, because that heat would get to it, and you'd just start curling up,
Curl
and go
down.
back where it came from. You'd hear it screeching, pulling on the nail.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to show the people here now that we're here? We can. I know you were telling me about this picture over here of the guy you learned saddle making from.
Uh,
Would you like to show that and tell them a little bit about it?
Yeah, we could do that. Okay. Now this is a carving I done, I think in '88. It shows the Shaft Leather Company shop where I learned to make saddles. And this was taken from a photograph that was taken in 1948. And I enlarged it up and made it into this leather carving. And this old gentleman here is Mr. Guy Louderbach. He's the one that taught me how to make saddles. And this is Al Stohlman when he used to have a little hair on his head yet. And this is the way we were in there making the saddles. Now this is all, the scene is made out of different embossed leather parts. Mr. Louderbach is separate, the saddle is separate. I'm separate here from the other hand and everything. And the pipe in his mouth is even a separate piece. The stem of the pipe is made with a pin and it's covered with real fine leather. I scribed the leather just thinner than scriber leather, and then put that in his mouth. And the eyeglasses are made out of clear plastic, and they're bifocals, and we show how to do that in figure carving finesse, I believe it is.
Figure carving finesse, yeah.
Yeah. And the eye shade is made out of the clear plastic, and I used just straight spirit dye, green, and to give it the green shade that's shown there. And the little overstitch wheel there is made out of plastic and then painted with the Zoe's silver. And the rigging rings and that are painted with the Zoe's silver too. And it's all lightly embossed, so it gives it a little raised effect. And we want to use a color picture of this in our upcoming encyclopedia of saddle making, where this will be on a fold-out page, the actual size it is. And we want to dedicate this book to Mr. Guy Louderbach, because he's the one that taught me how to make saddles, and I'm the one that taught Ann how to make saddles.
And now we're getting ready to teach the world how to make
We're
saddles.
going to try to teach you how to make saddles.
Let's see, Al and Ann, you guys are working on everybody's anticipating the encyclopedia of saddle making, and see, you got a couple saddles there.
Yep,
you wanna
these.
tell us a little bit.
These two, we'll have four saddles in the book, and this is a #1 saddle, and each saddle will have a different horn and a different fork and a different cantle and a different rigging style in here, so that we show all different methods of doing it. This is an in-skirt rigging, and this is a standard. And this one has the front turned under and skeleton tack, and this one has a roll on it, and this one has the laced swells, and this one has a welted swell. This one has a regular binding, and this one has a Cheyenne roll binding, and so we try to give you the most variance in the four saddles to give you more experience in the different methods of construction. And
Well, I've seen just a few pages of the rigging, and I can tell you that I was just amazed at how much information there was there just on rigging, and it's going to be that way, I'm sure, throughout the whole encyclopedia.
yeah.
How many pages are we up to right now?
Well, we have a total of about 675 so far. And we're going to break it down into 3 volumes, which each one will be in the neighborhood of 225, more or less, one way or the other. And that'll make a little better balance out of it, and easier to handle and more affordable to people. But we're not shying away from any information. We're just letting it go as long as it is gone, so we don't omit anything, because there's so much to cover. And like with the trees, how to fit them on the horse, and how to measure the horse to make your saddle tree fit, and why some horses get sore backs and why others don't, and the reasons for it, and something that people will learn to look out for.
Well, and then too, and basically we're not giving stamping instructions.
No. It's just, this is the fanciest one of the lot here, you might say.
And
It's just a simple inverted border silhouette design that's stamped in and then dyed with the silver, and this is just a plain old border design. But from this, you could learn how to get your borders, and you do your own work inside of here. We show you how to get this part of it, and then if you wanted to go ahead and do a full flower job, you could go ahead and do it.
Well, we've got plenty of other books
Oh,
done
yeah.
by Al and Ann Stohlman that shows us how to do the tooling and,
Yeah.
and the coloring, and of course
Yeah,
the stitching and
right.
the buck stitching and how to take care of your tools and what kind of tools to use. And, there's just no end to the instructions we've already got, so you can be pretty much a specialist here, I believe, in saddle making.
Oh yeah, you can apply it to everything. And basically here our main concern is a construction, to get the basics in. So to get this established in your mind, how to put a good solid rigging in there, and how to properly install the ground seats and everything, and the horn covers, and just get the basics. And then once we have all that, we can go to future volumes and give you all the silver rope roll stuff and filigree jobs. Oh, there's a multitude of things to do yet.
matter of fact, when I first was making saddles, talk about finding designs any place, I was looking through the belt book one time, and there was a little border stamp, and I thought, you know, that would look pretty good on a saddle. I ended up with 3 or 4 saddles that I got the designs out of that belt.
That was an Indian design motif, you know.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So designs
there's-
are where you find them.
Tooling patterns everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
Uh,
It's been
Boy.
great to have you, George.
pleasure
It's been a
seeing
long
you.
time.
Yeah, well, it won't be so long next time,
Ah,
Al.
good.
Been a real pleasure.
You bet.
Been a real pleasure. And I hope I haven't wrecked too much of your film.
Nah. Well, first of all, it's not film.
Oh.
It's videotape. You know, we keep calling it film, but I have people reminding me it's not film, it's videotape. But,
Shows you how old he is.
him or me?
Him.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway,
Well, I'm
sure
pleased-
pleasure, and
pleased you could come up, and
Yeah.
it's too bad the weather's so hot as it is, but it isn't as bad as
It makes you
yesterday.
feel at home.
makes me feel at home. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they call me a Texan, but we won't get into that. That's for another day. Okay, well, say goodbye to everybody,
Okay.
and we'll see you next trip.
Yes.
See you next year.
Well, this is George Hurst again, saying so long to Al and Ann. Until the next time, they wish everybody happy trails and have fun with your leather carvings. Those are pretty shirts they had on today.
The years that I've been going up here, I've never seen them around the same church. stopped. the
Oh,
other
did
day. He said, "Well, I thought that's what you put your signal."
Okay,
River.
yeah,
Is that what
I can't get them.
you can't get over that?
Well, I can, but it's gonna be tough everything's in the way.
Oh, okay.
Maybe when we get out here, I can get over there. That's tough.
Yeah. That thing last time, what it says is Jackass Pass.
Yeah,
I don't even remember that. Up here. One of these turn-offs, you don't have this big sign on it,
Yeah.
told about it. I don't know where that was. Can't tell you where you are.
that'd be difficult to take care of a sign.